Before legends hardened, before time surrendered, before the world even learned what impossible meant, one king built a mountain, and he dared time itself to destroy it. His name was Khufu, and for 4,500 years, the world has never escaped his shadow. This is the story of the king who turned stone into eternity. When Khufu came to the throne around 2589 BCE, he didn't inherit a kingdom in chaos. He inherited a well-oiled machine, a nation at the peak of its power. His father, the great pharaoh Sneferu, had already done the impossible. Sneferu had spent decades experimenting, failing, and finally succeeding. He mastered the art of pyramid engineering, transforming crude step pyramids into the first true, smooth-sided pyramids. He united the administration of Upper and Lower Egypt, creating a bureaucracy that could manage massive national projects. He stabilized the relationship between kingship and religion, positioning the pharaoh as a living god, the son of the sun god Ra. Khufu didn't have to build a kingdom from scratch. His father handed him perfection on a silver platter. He inherited stability, wealth, and unprecedented technical knowledge. But where another king might have been content to maintain the status quo, Khufu saw something different. He saw potential, and he decided to push that potential to its absolute, mind-bending limit. He wasn't just going to build a pyramid. He was going to build the pyramid, a structure so vast, so perfect, that it would redefine the very boundaries of human achievement. In the mind of Khufu, a radical idea was forming. He believed that a king should not merely be remembered in stories or whispered in prayers. A king, a divine king, should remain, not as a ghost or a legend, but physically. He envisioned a presence that would tower over the land forever, a permanent feature of the landscape, as real and enduring as the mountains or the Nile itself. His tomb would not be a simple monument to his life. It would be a defiant statement against death, against time, against forgetting. It would be his eternal body on earth, a vessel for his immortal soul. This wasn't just about burial. This was about achieving a tangible, physical immortality that no pharaoh before him had ever dared to imagine. To realize this monumental vision, the location had to be perfect. Khufu didn't just point to a random spot in the desert. The selection of the Giza Plateau was a masterclass in strategic planning. First, the geology was ideal. Giza offered a solid limestone bedrock, a stable foundation capable of supporting the unimaginable weight of millions of tons of stone without shifting or sinking. Second, it had unparalleled visibility. From the plateau, his pyramid would be seen for miles, a gleaming beacon visible from the capital city of Memphis and to anyone sailing down the Nile Valley. It was a constant reminder of royal power. Finally, its proximity to Memphis meant that resources, labor, and supplies could be efficiently managed and transported. This wasn't just a burial site. It was the center of a massive logistical operation. Every choice was deliberate, calculated, and designed for maximum impact and permanence. And then, the Great Pyramid began to rise. What was built at Giza was unlike anything the world had ever seen, and frankly, anything seen since. When it was finished, cast in polished white limestone, it soared to a height of 146.6 meters, the tallest man-made structure on Earth for over 3,800 years. It was constructed from more than 2.3 million individual stone blocks, some weighing as much as 80 tons, quarried and transported from hundreds of miles away. And perhaps most astonishingly, it was aligned to the cardinal directions north, south, east, and west with a precision that modern engineers, with all our technology, would find difficult to replicate. And how did they do it? There were no wheels for transport, no iron tools, no cranes, no machines as we know them. They had something more powerful: advanced mathematics, brilliant organization, and the absolute, unquestioned authority of the king. We often hear stories of slave labor, but archaeological evidence from the workers' village at Giza paints a different picture. This wasn't a project built by a whipped and beaten underclass. This was a national project. It was a nation, from the highest-ranking architect to the humblest laborer, moving as one single, coordinated body, all focused on a single goal. To orchestrate such a project, Khufu had to be a ruler of absolute power. Later Greek historians, writing thousands of years after his death, painted him as a cruel and merciless tyrant who enslaved his people. But archaeology tells a more complex, and perhaps more impressive, truth. The workers who built his pyramid were not slaves. They were skilled laborers, housed in a well-organized town, fed with the best meat and bread, and given proper medical care. Their graves show they were buried with honor near the pyramid they helped build. Khufu's true power was in his ability to centralize the entire state of Egypt. He controlled the labor force, not through fear, but through a system of national service. He regulated the country's resources, directing agriculture, mining, and quarrying towards his grand project. He commanded the religious life of the nation, reinforcing his divine status. Under Khufu, the state of Egypt became a direct extension of the king's will. The Great Pyramid isn't a monument to his cruelty. It's a monument to his incredible ability to organize and mobilize an entire civilization. But the pyramid was so much more than a pile of stones or a symbol of power. It was a machine, a resurrection machine designed with incredible theological and astronomical precision. The internal structure is a complex network of passages and chambers, unlike any pyramid before it. You don't just find a burial chamber at the bottom. You find an ascending passage, leading up to the queen's chamber and the magnificent grand gallery, which in turn leads to the king's chamber, right in the heart of the structure. Mysterious shafts, once thought to be for ventilation, extend from these chambers outwards through the body of the pyramid. We now know they were aligned with specific stars and constellations that were crucial to Egyptian beliefs about the afterlife, like Orion and the circumpolar stars, the imperishable ones that never set. The entire design was a stone map for the king's soul. After death, Khufu's soul was meant to ascend through these passages, join the imperishable stars, and travel with the sun god Ra across the sky in his solar boat, ruling eternally in the afterlife. This wasn't just architecture. It was theology carved in stone on a cosmic scale. One of the greatest paradoxes of Khufu is his silence. For a king who built the most famous monument in history, he left behind almost nothing of himself. Only one complete statue of him has ever been found, a tiny ivory figurine just 3 inches tall. Compared to later pharaohs who covered their temples in boastful inscriptions and heroic battle scenes, Khufu's pyramid is stark, almost completely bare of text. No grand records of his reign, no long list of his accomplishments. It's as if he decided that the pyramid itself was all that needed to be said. He let the sheer scale, the perfection, and the mystery of his creation speak for him. And for 4,500 years, it has. It doesn't need words. Its presence is the message. Think about what that pyramid has witnessed. Empires rose and fell. The Romans came and went. Languages were born and died. Entire religions were founded, spread across the world, and were eventually forgotten. Through it all, the Great Pyramid remained. Khufu managed to outlive his own dynasty, his own religion, and even his own civilization. He created something so physically dominant, so permanent, that history couldn't erase him. History didn't just remember Khufu. History was forced to stand in his shadow. Every generation for millennia has looked up at that man-made mountain and wondered, so why does Khufu still matter today? Because he represents the ultimate expression of human will. Khufu proved that human ambition, when focused, has no ceiling. He demonstrated that organization, when executed perfectly, can achieve results that border on the mythical. And above all, he showed us that with enough ingenuity and determination, stone can defeat time. He didn't conquer other nations with armies. He conquered eternity with mathematics and limestone. The world has changed in countless ways since his time, but in many ways, we still haven't caught up to what that one king achieved on the Giza Plateau. If you want to hear more stories about the ancient figures who shaped our world, make sure to like and subscribe, because some kings don't just fade into history, they become it.